Hi, I'm Christine Connor of Amelia Scott Designs. Betsy and Galen, the owners of Quilt Beginnings, let me borrow the Bernina 990 for the weekend so I could take it to Studio B and make some films for you. I'm kind of attached to this right now. I can't let it go. In this video, I want to show you how to scan your hoop and how to use the endless feature to get some registration marks. These are features that you're probably going to want to use when you do edge-to-edge quilting. I'll also show you some pointers when you're using the touch screen. Hope you enjoy the video. Let's get started. So first of all, we're going to bring in edge-to-edge design. So I'm going to tap on the embroidery, and I'm going to tap on the USB stick, and I'm going to choose my BQM file, this little dream catcher. By the way, all of Amelia Scott Designs now have the BQM file format. Okay, so I brought in my design. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to go into edit because I'm going to need to turn on a few features. And the first feature I want to turn on, okay, first of all, you have these subheadings. This one says edit, this one says arrange, and I'm not arranging anything, so I'm just going to deselect that so it kind of closes it up so I can get down here and you can see all these features down here. So I want to turn on the virtual positioning feature. That's going to allow me to use my knobs to move the design left to right, up, down to connect that the start point to the end point. And then I also want to, just for the fun of it, I'm going to select the endless embroidery because I want to show you how that works too. Now what endless embroidery will do is it's going to put these little registration marks, and honestly this is a little bit too close for my comfort, but we're going to use those registration marks for something else. So I want only the bottom two turned on, so when they're all white, nothing's turned on. When they're all highlighted, then they're turned on. So you can see I've got little arrows here, here, and here. I don't need them at the top, just at the bottom. So I've got those turned on, and I'm going to say okay. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to close out of edit here so we get a full screen. The next thing I want to do is I want to scan this. So when you think of scanning, you think, oh, let me turn the camera on, and I've got a camera icon right there, but that's not really where you want to go to scan the fabric. What you want to do is you want to go to your view button, which is this little eyeball right down in here, right here, here. And I'm going to just select that. And when I select that, I get this pop-up menu. And the very top icon is a picture of a hoop. And I'm going to select the picture of the hoop. Now, normally when it comes in like this, where it says no background. But I'm going to select the drop-down menu. And I have three choices. I can have no background, I can have a scanned image, or I can have a colored background. Well, I really want a scanned image, so I'm going to select the scanned image, and then I'm going to select the green button here that says scan the hoop. Now, before I scan the hoop, there is one thing I want you to do, and that is I want you to take your thread tail and I want you to bring it up to your cutter and kind of cut it, because when we start to scan, what's going to happen if that thread is dragging, it's going to be in your scan picture, and you're going to have all these little thread tails all over your scan picture. So get your thread out of the way. So I'm going to hit the scan hoop, and it's going to take a minute for it to scan, and you can watch it kind of scan in the picture here. So we went through the machine and we turned some lights off when we were, so we could get a better image for you on the videotape. But I just realized that when the scanner is on, it turns all those LEDs back on. So that's why it kind of looked like a glowing ball to you guys. Okay. As soon as the scanned image is done, you're going to say, okay. And now look at this. You can, this is where it gets kind of fun. So I have our image here, but I really want to zoom in. And so one of the things I can do is I can take my two fingers like an iPad and just kind of zoom into this picture. But before we do that, I want to tell you one thing, that you got to be careful where you touch the screen, because this has like a little rotate icon. So if I touch right now it's showing the far left side of my design. If I wanted to show the far right side of my design, I would just click on the fabric next to this design and it would move that over. So it's showing me this design, and actually my hoop is moving too. It's the same if I go down below or up above, or if I go corner to corner. It's showing me all these sides of my design. So that would be the corner of my design, there's the top of my design, there's the left side of my design. So naturally, if I go and I do that right across the design, this little button is going to go all over the place. So if you just do it over on the side in the blue, blow that up real big, and then use your two fingers to move it back to the center, you won't be moving that design all over the place. Now, what all I have to do, and I'm actually going to zoom in just a little bit more because I can. How cool is that? Look at how close that is. Now I'm just going to use the knobs on my machine to move the design over to get it right in position. Okay, guys, how cool is that? How cool is that? Now, I'm going to also turn my laser light on. I turned it off. I'm going to turn that back on, and it's the very last icon on the left-hand side. So I'm going to turn that back on, and you can see I am spot on where I need to be. Now I'm going to go ahead and just stitch out the design, and you'll note, and then we'll talk about what happens at the end of the design. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, before I do that, I have to go to Stitch Out. That's that green button. And it's going to make sure that I have all my settings set, which I do. The main thing you want to make sure is that you have the quilt setting feature turned on if you're using a BQM file. Okay, if you're using an EXP file, you're not really going to have that. That feature's not going to work for you. All right, so now I'm in this mode and I am ready to, and my start point's over on the left-hand side. My needle's over on the left-hand side. So now I can bring up that bobbin, lower the presser foot, bring up the bobbin. And I'm going to just turn the laser light on and give it a good look. Yes, I am spot on. And now I'm just going to go ahead and stitch this design out. Okay, I'm going to stop the button. I'm going to trim my tails. Now, the quilt stitch feature, what it's doing is it's putting in like 5 little tiny stitches at the beginning that you're not going to be able to pick out. Trust me, they are really hard to pick out. And that's kind of like it's instead of a knot, it's like 5 little stitches real close together. So it's not a big, it's exactly what a long arm quilt machine does. That's what the quilt feature is doing. And you can only do that with the BQM files. And by the way, I don't know if I told you, but Amelia Scott Designs, all of our edge-to-edge designs have the BQM file format. So I have that endless feature turned on, so I'm not quite done yet. And I've got this big red line that says, hey, endless marker time. So that helps me remember that I'm not quite done yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to hit the scissors. It's going to cut the thread. And then I'm going to start the machine. I can get that out of there if I want. And then I'm going to start the machine, and it's going to stitch a little arrow for me. And that's going to go over to the other one. I'm going to hit the scissors. And then I'm going to start the machine. Okay. And then I think I can hit no, I cannot hit the scissors again. Okay, so then I'm going to the one thing about the quilt stitch feature, and this one's just about to come out, so I'm going to not cut it too close. I don't really need it to, I don't want these things in here permanently, so they're not, this one over here is just about to come undone. So if that happens, it's okay. But one thing about the quilt stitch feature that you need to do is you have to cut the bobbin from behind. Okay, so I'm going to take this over to the cutting table and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with those little markers. All right, so here's how I use these markers. These markers are telling me exactly where the bottom of that design is going to fall. And, on some designs, if you wanted to get them really close, you could, but I have been doing this for about 12 years now, and I would never take my quilting design that high up because I just know how quilts work, and by the end of that quilt, you're going to be probably up in that design. So what I do is I'm going to take the edge of those arrows, and I'm just going to, let me get in between. Darn these dots on these rulers. I got dots on them all. Let's see if I can do it better here. This is a conundrum. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm putting the tip of the arrows on these dots, and then I'm going to draw my 1/2 inch line. So that way I know I have a 1/2 inch space between the arrow and the design. And then I can just remove these. They're just basting stitches. They come out really, really easy. And there you can see I have a perfect little 1/2 inch. And I use that because they're on either side. It gives me a little bit better measurement than if I'm trying to, kind of do this, or I didn't have to use a template either, a paper template to do that. All right, I hope that was helpful.